In the year 184 AD, 3 strangers knelt under a canopy of peach blossoms. One wove sandals for a living, one was a fugitive, and one slaughtered pigs. They had nothing, no army, no title. They cut their palms and swore a single oath. We live together, we die together. That oath held for 40 years. It reshaped China, and 1800 years later, people still worship the man who kept it. But before we begin, if you want to understand China not just through textbooks, but through the stories that shaped its deep culture, welcome to Learn Chinese Now. The late Han Dynasty was collapsing. It had ruled China for 400 years, longer than the Roman Empire at its peak. And now, it was dying the way all dynasties die. Corruption at the center, famine in the countryside. And in 184 AD, the final blow. Huangjin Qiyi, the Yellow Turban Rebellion. Hundreds of thousands of peasants wrapped yellow cloth around their heads and marched on the cities. They were starving, they were furious, and they were everywhere, burning towns, killing officials, tearing the last threads of imperial order apart. Now, in the middle of all this chaos, in a small town in northern China, somewhere near today's Hebei province, a man stood reading a government notice pinned to a wall. His name was Liu Bei. He was technically a descendant of the Han royal family, a distant branch, so distant it meant nothing. In practice, Liu Bei wove sandals and sold straw mats for a living. He was poor, he was gentle. People said he wept easily and spoke with sincerity that made hard men listen. He had no money, no soldiers, no connections. But he stood in front of that notice, a call for volunteers to fight the Yellow Turbans. And he sighed. Not the sigh of a man who doesn't care, the sigh of a man who cares too much and has nothing to give. A voice behind him said, "Why sigh and do nothing?" Liu Bei turned around. The man standing there was enormous, 9 feet tall, the story says, which may be a slight exaggeration, but you get the idea. A face the color of dark jujube, a beard 2 feet long, eyes like a phoenix. He carried himself like someone who had already decided that the world owed him a fight and he intended to collect. His name was Guan Yu, and he was a fugitive. Years earlier, back in his home province of Shanxi, Guan Yu had killed a local tyrant, a powerful man who'd been bullying his neighbors. Maybe it was justice, maybe it was just rage. Either way, the authorities wanted him dead, and he'd been running south ever since. He sold grain and green beans to survive. He carried a weapon everywhere, the Qinglong Yanyue Dao, a crescent-bladed polearm that weighed, according to legend, 82 pounds. And every night, by candlelight, he read the Spring and Autumn Annals, a Confucian classic about loyalty, duty, and the cost of doing what's right. A killer who loved books, a fugitive who read philosophy. That was Guan Yu. They talked. They discovered they shared the same grief, watching their country fall apart with no power to stop it. Then, a third voice cut in. Zhang Fei was a butcher, a wine seller. He had a voice like rolling thunder and a temper to match. Impulsive, violent, the kind of man who'd break a table during an argument and then buy everyone drinks just to apologize. But underneath the wildness was a fierce, almost desperate loyalty. When Zhang Fei loved someone, he'd die for them. No questions, no hesitation. He also had money, not much, but enough to fund a small militia. 3 strangers. A weaver, a fugitive, and a butcher. None of them had power. All of them had something to prove. Zhang Fei owned a small property behind his home with a garden of peach trees. They went there. The blossoms were open, white and pink petals drifting in the spring air. And under those trees, they made a decision that would outlast every kingdom, every battle, and every betrayal that followed. They knelt, they lit incense, and they swore. The oath, as recorded in Sanguo Yanyi, the romance of the 3 kingdoms, says, "We 3, though born on different days, in different months, in different years, now bind ourselves as brothers. We shall join forces for a common purpose, to save the troubled and to aid the endangered. We shall avenge the nation above and bring peace to the citizens below. We ask not to be born on the same day, but we vow to die on the same day. Now, here's what you need to understand about this oath. In Chinese culture, sworn brotherhood, 结义, is not friendship, it's not a handshake, it's family. From this moment, Liu Bei, Guan Yu, and Zhang Fei owe each other what brothers owe blood relatives. They will share food, they will share danger, and if one of them dies, the others are bound by heaven, by honor, by every ancestor watching to avenge that death or die trying. Breaking this oath is not just dishonor, it's a betrayal of heaven itself. Liu Bei was the eldest. He became the leader, not because he was the strongest, but because the other two chose him. Guan Yu was second, Zhang Fei the youngest. They slaughtered an ox and a horse. They offered wine. They burned paper. The peach blossoms fell around them, like the world was already trying to tell them something. Now, historians will tell you that this probably never even actually happened. The records of the three kingdoms, Sangguozhi, the actual historical text, says only that the three men were as close as brothers, and that Guan Yu and Zhang Fei followed Liu Bei as his left and right hands. No peach garden, no formal oath, no petals. But it doesn't matter, because what the oath represents is real. These three men stayed together through over 30 years of war, exile, starvation, and political disaster. They lost everything repeatedly, and they never abandoned each other. The oath may be fiction. The loyalty it describes is not. They raised a small volunteer force, a few hundred men, mostly farmers and laborers with makeshift weapons, and rode to fight the Yellow Turbans. The first battle was absolute chaos. Peasant armies are unpredictable. They fight with desperation, no formation, no strategy, just a tide of bodies pressing forward. Liu Bei's volunteers were outnumbered and outmatched. But they had three men. Guan Yu moved through the battlefield like something out of a different century. His weapon, that 82-pound blade, swept in wide arcs. Men fell before they understood what hit them. He didn't shout, he didn't taunt. He fought the way he read, quietly, precisely, with a kind of terrible focus. Zhang Fei, on the other hand, was the exact opposite. He roared, his serpent spear punched through shields. He charged into clusters of enemies the way a boulder rolls downhill, unstoppable and slightly mad. And Liu Bei held the center. Not the greatest warrior, not the loudest voice, but the man who held the line. They won, not because they were powerful, they weren't. They won because they fought as one body. Three men who had promised to live together and die together, and meant it. It was a small victory, barely a footnote. The Yellow Turban Rebellion would be crushed by other forces with larger armies and better weapons. But this was just the beginning. Over the next 40 years, this oath would be tested by wealth, by power, by empire, and by death. Guan Yu would be offered everything a man could want: gold, rank, a kingdom, and he would give it all back. He would drown armies. He would be betrayed by allies. He would eventually lose his head. But in the end, he would become a god. But all of that was still to come. For now, under the peach blossoms, three men with nothing had made a promise, and not one of them would break it. Next week, that oath gets tested. Cao Cao, the most powerful man in China, offers Guan Yu gold, a mansion, a title, and the fastest horse in the country. Guan Yu takes every gift, then gives them all back. In the meantime, the story on your screen right now is one of the strangest things I've ever told. A young scholar walks into a forgotten monastery in northern China. He looks at a painting on the wall, and then he's inside it. What happens next, I still can't fully explain. Watch it now. And until next week, 再见!